Alright, so as you guys probably know, I've been making quite a bit of content on potential players that the Golden State Warriors could sign to fill out their remaining last couple of roster spots. Of course, now we've heard about, Dwight Howard. We've heard about Rudy Gay. We've heard about Christian Wood. And now we're, of course, hearing a new report by Shams that they are, of course, interested in Dion Waiters, Harry Giles, Kent Bazemore, Juan Toscano-Anderson, Tony Snell, and Trey Burke. Again, I figured I would kind of combine all these videos into one for you guys, and we can kind of look at and decide together in the comments, who do we think the Golden State Warriors should sign to be their potential 14th or 15th man on the team. So definitely don't forget to comment your thoughts and opinions down below on who you guys think they should get. And I guess without further ado, here's all the players they are interested in. Again, there were a couple of reports earlier in the year and that Dwight Howard really wanted to get back into the NBA. He had been training in Taiwan, playing in Taiwan, doing essentially everything that he can to get back into it and become an NBA player again. He also mentioned that he would like to play for the Sacramento Kings, believing he could potentially help their team out as their new backup center. There was even a rumor he worked out for them, and it must not have gone well, and they just must have gone a different direction. There's other rumors going around too that the Golden State Warriors in the past couple weeks have been monitoring and have showed some interest in potentially signing him. And a recent report has also come out saying that the Golden State Warriors should look to sign Dwight Howard, according to Ben Steiner. They have a couple of roster spots available, and Dwight has experience playing off the bench for a championship team. Now, I'm not going to lie. I think Dwight Howard might be one of the most perfect players the Golden State Warriors can potentially bring in. We've been saying the Warriors are interested in a ton of players like Christian Wood, Rudy Gay, etc. All these big men who could definitely play quite a role on this Golden State Warriors team. And I'm not saying Dwight Howard's the best out of all of them. In fact, he might actually be the worst out of the three. The thing is with Dwight Howard though is I actually think he would fit the Golden State Warriors system 10 times better than what both of those guys would be able to do. And I also think that he would just mesh extremely well with this team, and he would add a lot of what this Golden State Warriors team does need right now and what they have previously built their championships off. We know that the Golden State Warriors, one of the main staples of their game is the big men sacrificing what they can do on offense and what scoring for the better part of the team. This means going around and setting a bunch of screens for players like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and all the other type of shooters, and of course playing really good defense and getting a much needed rebound. Again, that is what the Golden State Warriors are built off. Draymond Green not only is a really good playmaker, but he's one of the best screen setters in the league, and he manages to always get a shooter open. And I just think a guy like Dwight Howard, who has previously played the exact role the Los Angeles Lakers needed him to do to win himself a championship, would be perfect for this Golden State Warriors team. Dwight Howard is still not the worst defender going around, and I know damn well Dwight Howard can definitely get a rebound if needed to. Not just that, he's already showed that he can play his role and sacrifice his offensive game and what he can do for the better part of the team. When the Los Angeles Lakers needed Dwight Howard to go around setting screens for LeBron to get Danny Green and whatnot open, he was doing it. Again, when LeBron James needed Dwight Howard to get a rebound and help out Anthony Davis or JaVale McGee on the boards, Dwight Howard was doing it. This is a guy who is going to be a really solid role player still in the NBA, I think. And when I look at a lot of the teams, I do wonder how some of these certain players are signed when you've got dudes like Dwight Howard, who are these perfect type of role players who would help out any given championship team, are still available as free agents. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I think the Golden State Warriors should 100% be bringing Dwight Howard in for a practice, for a workout, just to see if he meshes well, if he can do every single thing that the Golden State Warriors need him to, which I believe he can, and then potentially bring him in to the team. In reality, I think this is a really good move by the Golden State Warriors. I think if you were to bring in a guy like Dwight Howard and a Rudy Gay, this would much more round out and balance the team. The team has so many guards right now and so many off-ball scorers, but it doesn't seem to have the screen setters and centers that previous year Warriors teams have had. I remember in the 2016, I think, Warriors squad, they had like 3 or 4 centers who were really good at rebounding, defense, and screen setting, and Draymond Green doing his thing. Now on the Golden State Warriors, it's kind of just Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, and maybe Jonathan Kuminga taking that next step. But again, Kuminga really hasn't been used as a guy that's been a screen setter or anything like that by the Warriors. They don't seem to want him to be that. So it almost makes me think that you've only got like 2 of those guys on the roster, when in previous years, you've had about 4 or 5. I think if you bring in a dude like Dwight Howard, he'll do exactly that. And Rudy Gay gives you a bit more flexibility, as he can play the 3 and the 4 as well. Also, on the Golden State Warriors, you can definitely expect him to probably play some small ball center, I think, and I would assume. Again, these dudes make a lot of sense. They're veterans who knows what it takes to win, especially Dwight, of course, winning a championship with the Los Angeles Lakers as what started to be a backup center, but as he worked himself more into the season, he honestly became like nearly their starting center, I think, in the playoffs. Again, I think a lot of teams could use a Dwight Howard right now. The Lakers could probably still use a Dwight Howard, but I think the Golden State Warriors, especially out of all the teams nearly in the NBA, they would be one of the highest on my list of potential teams who could use Dwight Howard. And I think with them having 2 more roster spots available, it would be a very good situation and idea to bring him in. So it is no secret in the NBA right now that the Golden State Warriors legitimately have one of the smallest teams, if not the smallest team, in the whole entire league. And because of this, there's been a lot of rumors that the Golden State Warriors are trying to kind of fill out their last remaining roster spots with a couple of big men in the NBA. This has led to a lot of Warriors fans and just NBA fans in general saying that they should potentially have a look at potentially trying to get Christian Wood or Bol to the team. After all, Bol recently just got waived by the Orlando Magic and is looking for a new team at the time of making this video, and Christian Wood is, of course, reportedly not receiving a contract worth more than the minimum from any team in the NBA so far. Now, again, if this video comes out and one of these guys has been signed to a different team, then good. I can still release it at the end of the day because it's still somewhat proving my point. And my point is that even if the Golden State Warriors are interested in these 2 players, which I think they obviously are, they should definitely stay far away from these 2 guys. Now, you're probably thinking, well, the Warriors need centers. These are probably 2 of the best centers out there right now. Why should the Warriors stay away from a guy like Bol and Christian Wood? And to be honest, it's quite simple, and that is the fact that neither of these guys would fit in the Golden State Warriors even one little bit, and it would probably somewhat be a train wreck, especially Bol. Look, Christian Wood, if you sign to the team, Christian Wood is still a fantastic scorer who you can try and fit into any system, but how the Golden State Warriors play their big men in the NBA is extremely unique and is by far probably the most unique out of any team really going around. And that is the fact that 95% of the big men that the Golden State Warriors have had in the last couple of years have all been guys that are known to be really good role players who can sacrifice their own game and what they like to do for the better will and good of the team. Perfect example, Kevon Looney. We obviously know that Kevon Looney, if he probably wanted to, this guy could be an absolute paint beast and I think could actually score quite decently in the paint. Again, most people might disagree with me on that. Some people would definitely agree. But how the Golden State Warriors play is they get Kevon Looney to practically go around and just set hundreds of screens every game, so that off-ball shooters like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, or formerly Jordan Poole could go around and get open shots on the three-point line, or could potentially cut to the basket. Draymond Green has been really known to do a very similar role to this, except he also has the ball in his hands quite a bit. Draymond is known as one of the best screen setters in the league right now, and so is Kevon Looney, and both of them practically go around setting just a bunch of screens to get open Warriors players, and of course, you know, to set some Warriors players to potentially cut here and there as well. Again, it's kind of how every center has gone about this with the Golden State Warriors. I mean, JaMychal Green even got kind of forced into doing it. He didn't exactly do as great as probably what they wanted to. But again, every time the Warriors really get a center, this is kind of the main role that they, of course, do try and get them to do. Again, there have been a couple that have previously not worked in this role. DeMarcus Cousins being the main one. He still thought he was obviously, you know, the best center in the league. And when he was with the Warriors, he got a big reality check when they didn't want him to take a bunch of shots and they just wanted him to set screens. We know James Wiseman didn't really work in the role either, which is very unfortunate for him. You still wonder if a little bit more time was given to Wiseman, if he maybe could have. But where I'm trying to get at here is that Christian Wood and Bol Bol are definitely not these type of guys. Christian Wood is a guy that I think if he goes to a team, he's going to be wanting to be a high volume scorer who I don't think is going to sacrifice his own game to set a bunch of screens for these Golden State Warriors type of players. And then again, Bol Bol is just simply way too skinny, way too weak, and not strong enough to be able to be a consistent screen setter for this Golden State Warriors team. Neither of these players would do the main purpose that they would probably be brought to the team. And again, it just wouldn't exactly help out Golden State a whole lot to the point where it would be practically worth signing these guys. Again, Bol Bol is especially the one, right? Bol Bol doesn't really do what the Warriors need at all. Warriors, if they bring in a center, they want him to get rebounds. They want him to be a screen setter. And again, they want him just to be good on the offensive glass, the defensive glass, whatever it may be, right? Bol Bol, to me, is more of an athletic freak that I think how his NBA career might be heading. He's definitely not going to be a rebounder that well, especially because of his, you know, size and frame in terms of weight, not his height, obviously. And of course, I definitely don't think that Bol Bol is going to be a screen setter anytime soon, which is just not what the Warriors need. They need a screen setter. They need these big men to play their role to perfection. While, as I said, Christian Wood, he probably needs to go to a team where he can do what he did similar like to the Dallas Mavericks, where he can be a high volume scorer off the bench and he can just continue to do what he wants to do off the bench. Of course, he's not good enough defensively or anything like that to start in the NBA anymore. We know that. Again, the Dallas Mavericks is the whole reason they brought him off the bench. And I just feel like with the way things are going, his career is just going to be a high volume scorer off the bench, and that's what the future is going to be. And I don't necessarily think that's what the Golden State Warriors need. They're much more system based, and I think they're probably going to attack how they sign centers that way. They're probably going to be looking to sign some centers who are going to set a bunch of screens, defend well, and of course rebound well, which is not exactly anything that Christian Wood is exceptionally good at. But there is another player who it is being reported that the Golden State Warriors are interested in potentially signing to fill out one of their last remaining roster spots. It's being reported that Rudy Gay is a name to monitor for the 14th roster spot for the Golden State Warriors once he hits the buyout market per Anthony Slater. Again, some people were commenting that you can't really report that the Warriors are interested in Rudy Gay just because of that he's still on another team and you can't sign him, and that Anthony Slater doesn't really know what he's talking about or something. Funny thing is that that's complete rubbish because he plays for Oklahoma and he's above the age of 23, which essentially means he will not be on the roster, of course, next season. Again, the Warriors don't exactly need any veteran help anymore. They're building this really, really nice roster that has players like SGA and Lou Dort kind of entering what should be the primes of their careers, of those mid-age kind of guys. Josh Giddey and Chet Holmgren are still really young, but again, a couple more years and they'll be in a very, very similar boat to these guys. They've got one of the best young cores, considering to a lot of people that they have the best young core potentially in the NBA. They are not going to be keeping Rudy Gay. He will 100% be getting either waived, but the more likely one is bought out, so the Oklahoma City Thunder don't really have to pay his contract out. Again, we know the Golden State Warriors really wouldn't mind taking a shot on a guy like Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay, pretty underrated defender, even though he's like 68 years old right now. He's actually still a really underrated defender who actually has a really nice, decent mid-range shot. Now, I think the idea on how the Golden State Warriors would potentially bring Rudy Gay in is to play him kind of how they've played a lot of their other power forwards and centers previously. Again, Rudy Gay for 99% of his career has been known as a power forward, but on the Golden State Warriors, you can be known as a shooting guard and somehow end up becoming their new center. So it's not really too far-fetched to say that Rudy Gobert would... Not Rudy Gobert, that... I don't think Warriors, you guys probably don't want Rudy Gobert. I don't even know if Australian teams would want Rudy Gobert at this rate. It'd probably be worse in Australia because nothing he does is special over here compared to the NBA. But I'm getting off topic. Sorry for the Rudy Gobert slander. I don't even really mind the guy, but that's a lie. Rudy Gay, again, a dude who has been known as a power forward for most of his career, would probably end up going and being a center, I believe, on this Golden State Warriors team. We know that Rudy Gay, if needed to be, can definitely play a role, and I believe he'd actually be a really good guy for the Golden State Warriors to sign because he's not a selfish dude. He would play his role, which is setting a bunch of screens for players like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and all the other 889 shooters that are on this Golden State Warriors team. He is a dude that would 100% sacrifice his role, or his, not his role, sorry, how he is as a player to play the certain role that the Golden State Warriors want him to. It's really interesting because no matter how good you can be as a center, it doesn't matter unless you don't play your role, is kind of how the Warriors see it. I mean, look at James Wiseman. That dude was a pick number 2 player, but he never fit with his Golden State Warriors team because he could not play the role that the Golden State Warriors want him to. So although he may be a way better player for Rudy Gay would essentially help out this Golden State Warriors team way more than a player like James Wiseman ever could, just because he is going to fulfill a role that this Golden State Warriors team essentially needs him to fill. So that's what's going to be going on with Rudy Gay if he was to, of course, go to the Golden State Warriors, which does look like it's happening right now. They desperately need to add some height to this team. Again, Kuminga is there. You got Draymond Green is there, and Kevon Looney. But none of those guys are above 6'10", I don't believe. I think they'll be the only team who in the NBA who doesn't have a player above 6'10". Possibly the only team in the NBA who doesn't have a player above 6'11" as well. It's really, really short. And this Golden State Warriors team needs to add a taller guy. Rudy Gay is, I believe, around 6'8", 6'9". He can come in, set a bunch of screens, play his role, play some good defense, and we know he's going to be ferocious around the board, so I think he'll definitely be able to get a rebound or two as well. And he'll definitely help out with their defense. Like, it's nice. I think he's going to be able to fill in an Andre Iguodala role, a taller version whose main goal is going to be leadership, setting screens, defense. And again, it's not like Rudy Gay can't score. The guy has a really nice mid-range, and if I remember right, hasn't been that bad from 3 in the last couple seasons as well. Definitely, I think, improved on that as his career has, of course, developed and he's gone on. So I think this is a smart move by the Golden State Warriors. It makes a lot of sense. He's going to be a dude that, when bought out, will possibly be a top 5 free agent available right now. And Again, after PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre, Christian Wood, there's a couple battling over those spots, but I think Rudy Gay would go over and be a really nice prospect and a player who will be available for this Golden State Warriors team to somewhat, of course, go and sign. So it makes a lot of sense to me. I think it makes a lot of sense to the Golden State Warriors, and it's very evident to see why they are, of course, interested in him. But again, we do now have a report by Shams that the Golden State Warriors are now holding a couple of new workouts with several free agents, which do include Dion Waiters, Harry Giles, Kent Bazemore, Juan Toscano-Anderson, Tony Snell, and Trey Burke. So again, there's a couple things to take into account here. They don't need Trey Burke. Trey Burke does not help this Golden State Warriors team, I don't think. I still think Trey Burke should possibly be in the NBA, but it's not like he is going to be what the Warriors need at all. I don't think Dion Waiters, he's kind of in that similar boat. He's just a really big scorer, and they've already got a ton of guards on this Warriors team. They really don't need another one, so I can already rule out Trey Burke and Dion Waiters. As much as I would probably like to see Dion Waiters actually return to the league. So that means there's 4 players that I think they can choose from. Juan Toscano-Anderson obviously didn't play that great on the Lakers. That's very, very obvious. But in saying that, he was pretty good on the Golden State Warriors and definitely did fulfill a role with them that I think they could definitely look back at. They know what they're going to get out of Toscano-Anderson. They know he's a guy who can definitely play small ball power forward and small ball center for them, even though he's probably a wing in the NBA, of course. So they know that. Then you got Kent Bazemore, who's kind of in a similar situation. Issue with Bazemore is I think he's kind of been out of the NBA for like a year now. Not just that, he was pretty bad on the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, he really didn't do anything great. Like, they desperately needed some guy to be a good three-point shooter on that team. You've got Kent Bazemore, who's historically been a pretty decent three-point shooter, struggled to shoot threes with LeBron James and Russell Westbrook as his playmaking. Like, I mean, yes, he can definitely say that maybe one of the issues he struggled is because Russell Westbrook was terrible on the Lakers, but you also do just think, well, hold on a second. Yeah, you kind of needed to do one thing and one thing only for the Lakers, and you really, really couldn't do it. So I would definitely rule out Kent Bazemore. Toscano-Anderson is cool and all, but I'm really not sure. I kind of look at Tony Snell and Harry Giles. I do actually think Tony Snell would be relatively decent for this Golden State Warriors team. And it's going to be a pretty similar situation with Toscano-Anderson, where you're going to have to play a dude who probably wants to be a small forward or so in the NBA, and you're probably going to be playing him as a small ball power forward, a small ball center, which, I mean, they do it with so many players, so it's just like, well, yeah, why not at this rate? But then there's the other guy, right? Harry Giles. Now, Harry Giles is really, really interesting because we've been hearing he's been doing a ton of workouts for a ton of NBA teams, and he has not been signed to one of these teams. I think I've heard 3 or 4 teams now. I know a guaranteed 2 teams that have worked this guy out, and he hasn't been signed yet, which is not a good thing. You're looking at a guy who was like a top 5 high school player who just didn't convert to the NBA whatsoever. You do wonder, can Harry Giles play a role for this Golden State Warriors team? If Golden State were to say to him, hey, we're going to give you a lifeline, we're going to bring you in on the minimum contract, we need you to get some rebounds, we need you to play interior defense, but most importantly, we need you to set a bunch of screens for off-ball guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins. Can you do that? And in Harry Giles' mind, he will say yes, but the issue is Harry Giles probably can't do it. He can maybe play some defense, maybe get you a rebound, but Harry Giles doesn't strike me as the type of guy who's going to be able to set off-ball screens as consistently as someone like a Kevon Looney, as someone like a Draymond Green, or even someone like a Dwight Howard, who the Golden State Warriors literally didn't sign. So that brings me to this. Who do the Golden State Warriors really sign out of these guys? I've listed you guys some positives about a couple of them. and I've listed you guys a lot of negatives. The issue is, with a lot of these players, I think the negatives kind of outweigh the positives. I think there are better free agents out there for the Golden State Warriors to possibly get. Like, I don't understand how you look at these 6 guys and you wonder if any of them deserve a contract over a guy like Dwight Howard. I'm not necessarily saying that Dwight Howard is better than any of these 6 guys. What I'm saying is, you know that Dwight Howard is going to play how the Golden State Warriors play and the role for this team in their system a lot better than any of the guys on this list. If I was to say who would get a roster spot out of all these guys, there's only one guy who I think probably really makes it, and that would be Juan Toscano-Anderson. Out of all of it, as I said earlier, he's a guy who can probably play small ball power forward, small ball center for them. He's a guy who they know he can be pretty decent in the system. He's done it before. I would put my money on Juan Toscano-Anderson getting the contract if I was to do anyone, and then maybe Harry Giles. But again, yeah, Harry Giles, he doesn't fit what they want. He's worked out with a bunch of teams now and hasn't been signed. That's usually a pretty clear indication that this guy probably is, yeah, not really the greatest out there. But I still think Dwight Howard, I don't know why and what happened with that workout, if it even happened at all. That was just a rumor going around. Maybe it did, and maybe he sucked, maybe it didn't, they just haven't got to him yet. Who even knows? But he would have been the guy I thought would have been probably best for him. But maybe Toscano-Anderson, they revisit that, they bring him back, and, you know, maybe that's the situation we're looking at. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Who would you guys personally sign if you were the Golden State Warriors? Would it be any of these dudes, or would you look at a guy like a Dwight Howard maybe? I'm not exactly too sure. Definitely let me know your thoughts and opinions. Don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, my IRL/vlogging channels. All of them will be getting linked in the description down below. And just comment your thoughts and opinions and subscribe to this channel. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.